Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. A note from the editor: Invitations and Inquisitions. In his new and telling book, God's Jury, The Inquisition and the Making of the Modern World, author Cullen Murphy's honesty enables him to see the pre-16th century Spanish Inquisition. To see the pre-16th century Spanish Inquisition not for what it was, but for what it is. One of a holy trinity of pillars, along with belief in technological scientificism and materialist progress that modernity and the West have been built on. One of a holy trinity of pillars, along with belief in technological scientificism and materialist progress that modernity and the West have been built on. This is not merely a history of what went wrong in the Spanish court of Ferdinand and Isabella, or with the acquisitive papal ambitions of the Church. It is a narration of who the people of Western civilization are psychologically and what they seem ever ready to do physically to sustain their identity and assert their supremacy. In sum, the modern West Sauron like will to dominate all life manifests itself in three absolutist ways. 1. By attempting to abolish all privacy, including of the individual's thought, life, and secret spiritual confessions, by creating a limitless number of micro-investigative institutions to catalog every facet of all its subjects' lives. By attempting to abolish all privacy, including of the individual's thought, life, and secret spiritual confessions, by creating a limitless number of micro-investigative institutions to catalog every facet of all its subjects' lives. 2. By creating relentless programs with coercive governmental authority to legally delegitimize all opposition, real and perceived, to pauperize the people, and to establish its opulent power class as a totalitarian plutocracy. And 3. By institutionalizing a well-publicized and publicly endorsed torture program that sanctions the use of any cruelty and brutality against its enemies of choice in the name of whatever phantom fear its ruling class decrees, no matter how unlikely, ephemeral, or phony it may be. What is particularly important here for Muslims to recognize our forefathers being the true, if academically and popularly hidden, real victims of the Inquisition more than any other group, is not only that this can happen again, but that it is happening again. In fact, the Inquisition has been cyclically perpetrated against Muslims in the modern period with such regularity in the Muslim world, and now again with increasing incidence in the West, that one must call it part of the very definition of modernity itself and integral to the identity of Western civilization. Bosnia was no anomaly, but rather a precursor. May Allah protect our brothers and sisters in faith in Europe from the rise of this virulent xenophobic monster of anti-Muslim bigotry that is sweeping into political authority there. Nor should American Muslims think themselves beyond the vehemence of this new show of cultural fanaticism. These anti-Muslim sentiments have been successfully internalized. Our enemies grow in numbers that can no longer be ignored. Witness the theater of the absurd anti-Sharia legislation. Movement, the Quran burning festivals, the call of American presidential candidates to be wary of mosques, Islamic schools, a burgeoning Muslim population, and of course our congenital association with all things terrorism. Muslims in America, who have proven beyond any doubt of an overwhelmingly good and accepting nature, have responded to this hostile frontal assault on their persons and all they hold sacred by trying ever harder to join the process, to alter their message and the tenor of their rhetoric from the member so as not to abet misunderstanding, to open up their homes, organizations, and communities, to aid, assist, and ameliorate locally, and to self-correct and self-police. I value the goodness of this sentiment among Muslims from a place so deep inside me because it speaks to the sincerity of this community, the God-fearing humility that nothing but belief makes flourish in the human soul, and the genuine human fitrah of innate compassion and love of truth, clemency, and beauty that Islam has kept alive in these humble hearts. But before the implacable, undeserved hostility that is arising against us, as a living witness to this unfathomably reckless hate we face, I cannot help but deem our communal response at the very least naive and irresponsible and perhaps pusillanimous. In a word, it is deeply misguided. On December 31st, the top piles of Patriot Acts, miles of tear-gassed, anti-war, plutocracy protesters, and the smiles of presidentially ordered missile murders of guiltless Muslims, the American government we have been seeking to support, appease, elect, protect, and praise passes with virtually what are you going to do about it? Blatantly, provocatively, derisive insult against us, the National Defense Authorization Act, under the rubric of counterterrorism. The American military, for the first time since the aftermath of the American Revolution, can arrest anybody, anywhere in the world, and disappear them to any of its myriad black sites for as long as they say terrorism exists, without notification, judicial authorization, complaint registration, on the mere suspicion of supporting terrorism, substantially, directly, or allegedly, or alleged terrorism's associated forces. Let's see now who might that include. How about 1.25 billion Muslims in the world, for starters? The funny thing is, we are not its true targets. We are the intermediary scapegoats to make it all palatable to those who still think their skin tones and rhotic pronunciations of English will save them. Wrong. What this act is really about is shutting up your average urban Occupy American, and shutting down your typical "why can't I sell my milk and have my gun" rural American. For years I have been saying the same thing, and I ask Allah to forgive my shortcomings. What we Muslims have to offer those whom we love in America and England and Europe and everywhere in the world, and there are plenty of good people to genuinely love and ardently want well for, is this precious religion with which we have been gifted and to which we have been guided. We are wasting our resources, human and material, by forming lobbies, joining parties, bandwagoning on splinter effect causes with band-aid solutions. We ought to be witnessing to our families, friends, neighbors, and colleagues, and to our peoples and nations, the ones we live among and whom we share a truly enchanted life and word well. This is our cause, the one we were born to run with. This is our time, when the crisis of perpetual war, persecution, and poverty is upon us. This is our worshipful purpose of oneness under heaven, da'wah. When this beautiful Arabic word has become anathema among Muslims, you know its day has dawned. Let it shine, Muslims, let it shine. Amir Halim.